The quiet stretch of coastline along Gilgo Beach doesn't look like a place where nightmares begin. It's the kind of road where tall grasses sway in the wind, where the ocean hums softly in the distance, and where drivers rarely stop. But beneath that calm surface lies one of the most haunting mysteries in modern American history. A case that remained unsolved for over a decade. A killer who seemed invisible. And a discovery that would expose a chilling pattern of violence hidden in plain sight. It all started in May 2010, when a young woman named Shannan Gilbert vanished after a frantic 911 call. She had been working as an escort and was last seen running through a gated community in Long Island, clearly terrified, pleading for help. Her disappearance triggered a search operation that would soon uncover something far more disturbing than anyone expected. In December 2010, during a routine search along Ocean Parkway, police made a shocking discovery. Not one body, but four. Wrapped in burlap, carefully placed, and hidden just off the roadside. These women, later known as the Gilgo Four, were all escorts who had advertised their services online. Their identities were eventually confirmed, but the person responsible remained a mystery. As investigators expanded the search area, more remains were found. Some belonged to victims who had been missing for years. Others were so badly decomposed that identification took much longer. By 2011, a total of at least 10 sets of human remains had been discovered in the area, turning Gilgo Beach into one of the most chilling dumping grounds in the country. What made this case especially terrifying wasn't just the number of victims. It was the pattern. Most of the women were petite, worked in the same industry, and disappeared under similar circumstances. They had all been contacted through online ads. And then, they vanished without a trace. Even more disturbing were the phone calls. In several cases, the killer had used the victims' phones to contact their families. The calls were brief, taunting, and deliberately cruel. He would give just enough information to cause panic, but never enough to reveal his identity. These weren't random acts. They were calculated, controlled, and deeply unsettling. For years, the case went cold. Leads dried up. Public interest faded. And the killer remained free. But behind the scenes, investigators were building a profile. They believed the suspect was familiar with the area. Someone who knew the secluded stretches of Ocean Parkway. Someone who understood law enforcement methods. Possibly even someone who blended into everyday life without raising suspicion. The breakthrough came years later, not from a dramatic confession or a lucky tip, but from patience and technology. Advances in forensic science allowed investigators to revisit old evidence. Cell phone records were analyzed more deeply. Burner phones were traced. And slowly, a picture began to form. In 2023, authorities arrested a man named Rex Hoyerman, an architect from Manhattan. On the surface, he appeared ordinary. A professional career. A family. A quiet life. But beneath that exterior, investigators alleged something far darker. They linked him to the case through DNA evidence, phone data, and a series of connections that had gone unnoticed for years. According to prosecutors, he had used burner phones to contact victims. He had researched the investigation online. And most chilling of all, his movements aligned with the timeline of the murders. The arrest shocked the nation. After more than a decade, the so-called Gilgo Beach serial killer finally had a face. But the story doesn't end there. Because even with an arrest, many questions remain unanswered. How many victims were there truly? Were all the remains connected to one person, or were multiple killers using the same area? And perhaps most haunting of all, how did someone allegedly responsible for such crimes manage to avoid detection for so long? If you're finding this case as unsettling as it sounds, make sure to subscribe to Shadow Files and turn on notifications. Because stories like this aren't just about the past. They're about the hidden truths that still exist around us. As investigators continue to build their case, new details have emerged. Evidence suggests that the suspect may have been active for years, possibly even decades. Some victims were last seen long before the Gilgo Four were discovered. This raises the possibility that the killer's timeline is far longer than initially believed. There's also the question of Shannan Gilbert. Her disappearance led to the discovery of the bodies, but her death was officially ruled as accidental. However, many believe there's more to her story. Her 911 call, her panic, the way she ran through the neighborhood, it all suggests she was fleeing from something. Or someone. Was she a victim of the same killer, or did her case simply expose a much larger horror? Then there are the theories. One theory suggests that the killer operated with extreme discipline. That he selected victims who were less likely to be reported missing quickly. That he used disposable phones and avoided leaving forensic evidence. This would explain how he evaded capture for so long. Another theory points to the possibility of multiple offenders. The variety in the remains, the different timelines, and the locations could indicate that more than one person used the area as a dumping ground. If true, this would mean Gilgo Beach wasn't just the site of one serial killer, but possibly several. There's also speculation about the role of technology. Many of the victims advertised online, making them vulnerable to anonymous clients. The rise of digital communication may have provided the perfect cover for someone looking to target victims without revealing their identity. And finally, there's the psychological aspect. What kind of person could live a normal life while allegedly committing such crimes? How do they compartmentalize? How do they hide in plain sight? These are questions that don't have easy answers. But they're the kind of questions that keep cases like this alive in the public mind. Because at its core, the Gilgo Beach case isn't just about one suspect or one location. It's about vulnerability. It's about the dangers that can exist just beneath the surface of everyday life. And it's about the long, often frustrating journey toward justice. Today, the case is still unfolding. Legal proceedings are ongoing. Investigators are re-examining evidence. And families are still waiting for answers. For them, this isn't just a story. It's a reality that has stretched on for years. A reality filled with uncertainty, grief, and the hope that one day, the truth will be fully revealed. As we look back on the timeline, it's hard not to feel a sense of unease. The idea that for years, a killer could operate undetected. That victims could disappear without immediate attention. That answers could remain hidden for so long. But it also shows the power of persistence. The determination of investigators who refuse to give up. The advancements in technology that made new discoveries possible. And the voices of families who continued to demand justice. If this case has taught us anything, it's that even the coldest cases can still burn beneath the surface. Waiting. Silent. But not forgotten. And sometimes, all it takes is one breakthrough to change everything. So what do you think? Was this the work of a single, calculated killer, or is there more to the story than we've been told? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the darkest mysteries and true crime cases, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned to Shadow Files. Because the truth is out there. And we're just getting started.